It's fair to say that products to assist you with organizing your home are all the rage at the moment. Every time you scroll social media, you see a new gizmo or gadget that's going to change your life. Today, we're going to talk through some of the organizing products that we think are worth investing in.
You're listening to the Declutter Hub podcast, bringing you tried and tested, no-nonsense tips and advice from the leading experts in decluttering and organising your home. Now here are your hosts, Ingrid Jansen and Leslie Spellman.
Hello and welcome, listeners. I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Leslie.
If you're new to the Declutter Hub podcast, you're so welcome. What you'll find is that we try and find a fun factor in the serious business of decluttering. And if you've been here for a while, you know exactly what we mean. So thank you so much for listening.
If you'd like to get involved in conversations relating to this podcast, it all takes place in our Facebook group. So come and join our lovely, warm, supportive community. To find the Facebook group, go to declutterhub.com/group to find out more, or you can search for the Declutter Hub community on Facebook. So Ingrid, when we were thinking about a podcast, we thought, you know what, we've not talked about organizing stuff for a long, long time. And what prompted us was a few weeks ago now, you ordered a load of organizing things, didn't you, from A Place for Everything, which is one of our favorite stores in the UK. And you were very excited by some of these things that you had not had for years, or not had ever, sorry. And so you bought some new organizing products. And so it got us thinking about products because we were chatting about whether you liked them and how they'd worked out and the quality and all those kind of things. So that prompted us to think about a 10 Things podcast. So we're going to talk about some organizing products that we think are worth investing in. There's a lot of rubbish ones out there, right, Ingrid?
I saw something the other day that I thought, oh my word, why do people would want to buy this? I mean, I think they're just trying to think of stuff, just random stuff for us to buy because they want us to sell stuff and spend our money. But I think, you know what, there are good items out there that can really help you. So yes, we indeed kind of got inspired by my whole big box that arrived at my house of stuff that I've ordered. But I think we've really got a nice 10 things list going here, Leslie, and we love a 10 things podcast. So I think we should just get cracking, don't we? But before we do that, we need to tell everybody about the lovely review that we got from Joe. Joe said, "Dear Leslie and Ingrid, I wanted to drop you a line after listening to your episode podcast 249, Clearing the Home of Someone Who Has Passed Away. Your podcast has made me think about the situation for my parents' home and my 2 siblings. I think your podcast will be invaluable at proving structure and the realities of the situation. I would never have considered a declutter expert for this job before. I definitely would now if I could find the right person. Thank you for your invaluable advice each week. Although I am organized, your podcasts give little sparks of inspiration. I always find them entertaining and enjoyable, normally whilst I'm doing my ironing. Thank you, Joe."
I do love a podcast, to kind of, when do you listen to podcasts, Ingrid? I listen to them when I'm putting my makeup on, getting ready in the morning, before I go to bed. That's when in the car.
I listen to them while I'm walking in the morning. So I try 3 times a week in the morning to walk like half an hour. So I can then kind of fit a podcast in.
Right. Okay. And do you listen to our podcasts?
Well, yes, every week, because I need to make sure that of course they are edited in the right way, because we laugh a lot when we record. So if we would not cut all of that out, people would be there for an hour and a half, Leslie.
You got to feel sorry, right, for the podcast editor who has to go through all that laughter. I bet they wonder whether, is it staying in? Is it coming out? Is it like, I bet they're a little bit like, I have no idea where this needs to stay in or what. But yeah, oh no, thank you, Joe. And it was an interesting one, actually, episode 249, because we delved into the detail, didn't we, of what to do when someone passes away. We talked about sensitive house clearance, what we like to call it. It was a good one, and we got a lot of comments and reviews on that one. So if you haven't listened to it, do take a listen. Episode 249. Now, before we start talking about our products, Ingrid, you talk, when she wouldn't let me get a word in, I was about to say something and literally she kind of moved on to the next thing. So I feel compelled to say that if people want to see your little haul that you got from A Place for Everything a few weeks ago, you did a little video, didn't you? And that little video is now sitting in YouTube. So if anybody wants to see Ingrid's unboxing video of her stuff from A Place for Everything, do pop into our YouTube channel and watch it. And of course, hit the subscribe button while you're there.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, it was nice. It was nice. But let's get cracking, Leslie, because a 10 Things podcast always takes us forever. So we need to start with number one. Number one are shelf dividers.
So what we're talking about when we talk about shelf dividers that are useful, and they're only useful in certain situations. So we're talking about something that kind of clips onto a shelf that divides the shelf vertically. So what these are fantastic for, amongst other things, is handbags. Okay. Now, the problem is that a lot of people have not got a whole shelf to give up for handbags. But if you are lucky and you have either a different room or a different wardrobe, or you have a big walk-in wardrobe or a decent shelf on your wardrobe that you can give over to handbags, and you have lots of handbags, it's a great way of dividing up your handbags, being able to see them visibly and making sure, more importantly, that they stand up. That's the thing. Handbags are always like a big mishmash in the bottom of wardrobes, or dusty, or maybe sometimes on the back of doors, and the back of doors is not perfect because you've got to kind of take them all off. And so that's why, if you've got the space, a shelf divider for handbags is a really good solution. I have that in my cupboard. That's why we like them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't have enough handbags to do that, but I know plenty of people who love a handbag, and this is like a really nice solution. So yes, definitely. That is our number one, isn't it, Leslie? And if you're wondering, I don't know what they mean, we actually have got a little shop on Amazon where you can have a look at them to see how they look like. And if you're like, oh, and then find out some more information, like kind of what material and what they're normally acrylic. But yeah, if you want to kind of know measurements and all of that kind of thing, have a little look. And we'll put the link to our Amazon shop in the show notes as well. So you can kind of go and find us there.
I think as well, Ingrid, what we're going to try and do, although this might not happen, we'll see, is we're going to try and put some little images of all the individual products in our YouTube video. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you probably will get a little kind of visual of that. But I don't know yet because we've not done it before. So we'll see whether that actually happens or not. So yeah, I love those. I think they're a great solution to a tricky situation, but they can only be useful if you've got the space. I'm not going to lie. People use those shelf dividers as well. Like if you've got a big wide shelf, you can also use them for like t-shirts and stuff. So if you've got a shelf that's, a meter wide, you can divide your shelf up and slot in t-shirts. And so it's not just for handbags, it's for loads of other things where you want to divide the shelf vertically.
Yeah,
that's basically
I know
what this is for.
Yeah, it's great. It's absolutely great. Right. Number two, drawer dividers.
Same principle, really, but this time you are dividing the space horizontally. Am I right? Have I got that right?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about this. One's vertical, one's definitely horizontal. Oh,
yes.
But it is vertical as it sits in the drawer, right?
Yeah.
Was that vertical or horizontal?
No, it's horizontal. I would say horizontal.
How do you know that? Because it sits up.
Oh, yeah. I see what you... Okay, you're confusing me now. You're confusing me. Anyway, but drawer dividers, yes, can be very handy.
Literally not even listening to me. And do you see how she dismisses my important thoughts about horizontal or vertical?
Because we're going to go down. We're going to go down in a whole rabbit hole of...
I see you, Ingrid Johnson, trying to move things along. Have you got to be somewhere? You're rushing through this podcast like I don't know what. Not allowing any time for everything to sink in. Go on then. What important things have you got to say about drawer dividers that I can't say?
Well, I think you can say lots of sensible things, Leslie, about drawer dividers, but it doesn't matter if they're horizontal or vertical. People know what a drawer divider is. And I think the thing is, the larger the drawer, the handier it is to have some sort of drawer divider in place. I mean, if you got a teeny tiny drawer, you probably won't need drawer dividers, although a small kind of plastic container or something, or even like a box from a phone can come in handy. But if you got larger drawers, then I think drawer dividers are handy.
Okay, so what kind of drawer dividers can you get?
You can get fabric drawer dividers, acrylic drawer dividers. You can use cardboard if you want to use a shoebox or an iPhone box or something like that.
Would you get your knickers into an iPhone box?
Definitely.
Get one? You wouldn't even get one? Sorry, no. It just popped into my head. I'm sorry. That's just so just getting back to calm. The drawer dividers that are useful and that are commonplace, I would say, are the scub ones that you get from IKEA that are almost like boxes. They do divide a drawer up and they all kind of interlink together. So they're fantastic. You can get those from IKEA and they're really good value. If you want something a little bit more meaty for a wider drawer, then the acrylic drawer dividers that go from back to front, horizontally or vertically, depending on which way you look at things, those are useful as well. There's wooden, more sustainable versions of those kind of things. But the most important thing to think about before you launch into buying drawer dividers is, what do I need to put into each division or each divided part? What would that call? Compartment, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. Really important to think about what needs to be stored before you go out and buy the solution first. Yeah. So, of course, you can go down the IKEA route, little boxes here and there, or you can go down the kind of bigger solution and with like acrylic drawer dividers or something like that. Yeah. There's loads of fantastic ones and they're kind of expandable, right?
Yeah. I mean, some of them are not, some of them are. I mean, so many options. So you will need to probably get the measuring tape out to make sure that you order the right thing and that you need to think it through. And this is why also we are big favorites of doing these kinds of organizing products later in your decluttering journey. We always say you need to do the decluttering first and the categorizing, then the organizing, and then you look at the storage solutions / organizing solutions, because you need to first find out where stuff lives before you start to order new stuff. And that's a message you will hear time and time again. We never say, start off with buying lots of stuff and kind of, we'll see where we end up with. We're like, no, don't buy anything. First declutter and organize and put it in the right place, and then look at what kind of box solution am I going to buy to make it even more helpful for myself. Okay, let me go off my high horse there, Leslie, because before you know it, this whole podcast is going to turn out into something different. Let's move on to number 3, which is an analog clock, which kind of sounds old-fashioned, Leslie.
Yeah, so let's explain what an analog clock is. Clock is, just in case people don't know. So you've got a digital clock which has got digital numbers on it, and you've got an analog clock which is one of those that's got minute hands and hour hands and possibly second hands that goes around and has the numbers on it most of the time. Yeah. And so the reason why an analog clock is handy in the organizing world is if you have ADHD, normally really useful for ADHD. We picked up this tip many years ago, didn't we, from some of the ADHD experts that have been in our world. So they think this one from Leslie Joselle. Most ADHD experts are big advocates of analog clocks, and the reason is that you can see sometimes when people have ADHD and get kind of caught up in the moment, and they become a little bit time blind, and so hyperfocus is a big part of it. And, obviously being late, all those kind of things form part of the whole ADHD world. And so it's good to be able to see the time passing. On an analog clock, you can do that. On a digital clock, it's hard to see that time moving forward. So that is why people in the ADHD world are very big advocates of an analog clock, and we would concur with that, wouldn't we, Ingrid? So talking about Leslie, who was probably the first person that I heard this from, I mean, it was even before she came on our podcast. I think she spoke at an outdoor conference like ages ago, like 8 years ago, something like that. And she's a big ADHD expert, particularly when it comes to ADHD for kids. And so definitely check her out, and definitely check out our 2 podcasts. We've got 2 podcasts with Leslie.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, really early on in our podcasting time, we'll pop the link to Leslie's podcast in the show notes, just in case you've not listened to them. So there's loads of fantastic hints and tips about executive function and ADHD and all of those kind of things that are related. So yes, an analog clock.
Yes, and the top tip here is not just one analog clock in one place in the house, actually analog clocks in different places, especially if you've got a family with multiple people with ADHD. You just don't want to have an analog clock somewhere in the hallway, but you want to have it in the kitchen and in the bathroom and in the bedroom and in the study. And so time really becomes a lot more in the focus of people. So yes, an analog clock, I think, is an excellent product to put here in our list of organizing things that we love.
Ingrid, I've got 4 analog clocks.
I know.
In one room.
Does it help, Leslie?
Yeah, it does. There's a reason why I've got 4 analog clocks in one room. I have all the different time zones of the people that we work with, right? And so it reminds me of what time it is, because we have people working with us from all over the world. And so it's really important for me to think about whether they're in bed or up or late or having their dinner or whatever. So I've got 4 analog clocks. The difficulty is making sure they all keep time together. So I keep having to change them all, but they look kind of nice as well.
Yeah. I think you should take a picture and put that in the Facebook group, Leslie.
Of my clocks?
Yes.
Okay, you like that?
So people can actually see that it is really true what you're saying, that we're not just telling a bit of rubbish on the podcast. Because I mean, I know it's true, but I'm going to write this. I finally have a task for you, Leslie. You love giving me tasks.
Yeah, but you've got to write it down and put it into Asana, otherwise it'll never get done. So I'll do it, but you need to write it down and make sure that I do it. Basically.
I will definitely do that, because I love giving you stuff, because you always give me stuff. All right, let's do number 4 in our list. And of course, it is a firm favorite of ours. And that is, of course, a label maker. I mean, doesn't love a label maker? That's like the best thing ever. And several members have actually asked us, what label maker do you have? And then come back and say, I've bought it too. I've gone into your Amazon shop and I've bought the one. But we now have 2 label makers in our little shop, don't we, Leslie? Because we had one that we've used for years and years, but recently you've upgraded to another one. And yeah, we both like them, don't we?
It will come as no surprise that Ingrid's still on the kind of older version that's not digital. Basically. Am I right? Yes. So Ingrid's still the QWERTY keyboard, which is fantastic. I'm not trying to knock it, but I've gone onto the digital one that uses an app and you print it out and you do everything on your phone with design and it's all fancy and stuff like that. And it's Bluetooth. And I said to Ingrid, you need to get one of these new label makers. It's amazing. No, I like the one that I've got. Thank you. That's what she says. She doesn't want to upgrade to a more modern version, do you, Ingrid?
Because mine still works. And why would I replace something that still works? Now, I'm maybe not going to, I mean, it's done really well for me. But if it breaks down or something, then I might go, yeah.
Ingrid, are you just waiting for things to break down? Like, honestly, how many times do I have to drag you kicking and screaming to the next generation or something? And then you go, oh, yeah, actually, I really like it.
And I wish I would have done it years ago. You're totally right, Leslie. That's normally how it goes. But yeah, I'm frugal like that. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with my old label maker.
You can pass your label maker on. You've got plenty of opportunity to pass your label maker on to someone who's going to like it.
That is true. That is actually
pass it
true.
To a client.
Well, there you go. Now you're forcing me to buy something.
I'll tell you what, go into our Amazon shop and buy it there, Ingrid.
Yeah. But we do like a label maker, don't we, Leslie? Whether it's a nifty digital one or an old-fashioned one that you have to type in stuff, it's the fact that a label that is neat comes out and you can just stick it on. They're easy to peel off. Either they work on shelves and on drawers and on little containers, and it helps, right? Especially when you're doing lots of kind of organizing and reorganizing to kind of keep track of where you're putting what.
I think it can be useful in 2 situations. So I think it really is the icing on the cake at the end of an organizing project to really kind of dot the I's and cross the T's to make it all look beautiful. I think it's also super, super helpful to people who struggle and need that visual reminder of what things are. I think they're incredible for children as well, and if you get a more modern one, Ingrid, you can actually put pictures on there and stuff like that, nice and easily. So I think there's no reason not to use a label maker, in my opinion. I just, and people, once you've gone down the label maker route, you never return, do you, Ingrid?
No, that is true.
It becomes a bit of an obsession, right?
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny. And because I sometimes work with a client and then I've seen them for ages. And then they call me back a long while later. And the labels are still there. And still the basis of the system is still there. It really helps with putting away items. And I think that's why it's crucial. Listen, we can wax lyrical about label makers for long. But let's move on to number 5. A Christmas light organizer. It's a string light organizer. So it's basically a holder that you can wrap Christmas lights around. I mean, how fabulous is that? I mean, the most arguments, I think, at Christmas are about untangling the Christmas lights and then putting them in the Christmas tree. So yes, there's actually holders where you can, I mean, of course, you can use a piece of cardboard, right? You don't need to have a string light organizer, but I saw them and I thought, that is handy.
I thought, you see, that would make me quite happy as well. Even though you could use a piece of cardboard, I feel like a Christmas light string, what is it? Christmas string light organizer would elevate me to a new level of organization. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I haven't got one, by the way. I'm just shoving the Christmas lights in the box like everybody else. But I think the point is, when you take down your Christmas or any other decorations here, we're not just talking about Christmas, anything that you might want to use fairy lights for, might be in the summer, might be for some other celebration or festival. It's brilliant to put in that extra little bit of time when you put it away to save yourself all the heartache when you get it out 6 months or a year later, oh my word, and then it's fighting and then it's not working and then you've got to go out and you're ready to put your lights on and they're not working because they're all tangled up, and it's just all very stressful then, isn't it? Whereas if you put the time in when you're putting things away, we're big advocates of that. When we do our countdown to Christmas course, we have an end bit, which is what do you need to do to make sure that you're ready for next year or ready this year. It's all about putting the time in, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so, and now's a great time to start thinking about those kind of things as well. So you've got your Christmas light, what is it? Christmas light. I keep saying Christmas light string, Christmas string light organizer in place, ready for when you want to take Christmas lights down.
Yeah, I love it. I'm super excited about this thing. I know. But
because you got one, right? You got one. So have you taken your Christmas stuff out of the loft and strung your lights around it, or are you waiting for Christmas?
I'm waiting for Christmas. So I've put the string light organizers now with my Christmas decorations, because I bought it very randomly a couple of weeks ago in the middle of the year. People might think, wow, are you actually thinking about Christmas in the middle of it? Well, I happened to see them and I thought, that is very handy.
I did notice that you only bought one.
No, I bought 2 packs of 2.
Oh, did you? Right. I thought you only bought one. Right.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking like one Christmas string light organizer. It's not going to do all your lights, is it? But you've had that covered. I'm glad that you're organized enough to think about that in advance.
Yes. Yeah. So let's go for a break and then we'll talk about the other 5 items that we've got. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm getting a bit like, hot and flustered about this whole point. I think I have to calm down a little, Leslie. I'm feeling like, I'm getting all. Anyway,
do you know why? I'll tell you why you're feeling hot and flustered, because this is your thing, right? So you're the practical one with all the organizing solutions and the boxes and all that, and I'm the one that's more emotional and psychological, and I'm kind of taking you on with your organizational stuff. That's why you're all hot and flustered. You want me to hold your own?
I know. I have to stick up for myself. So I'm going to move on to number 6. Acrylic fridge organizers and containers. That is a whole thing now, Leslie. Fridge-scaping is like the 2023, I think, buzzword. We want to get all things out of plastic and put them in nice acrylic containers to put in the fridge so your fridge looks nice.
Well, you talk about the kind of fridge-scaping. Everyone's like, what is that? And we heard about fridge-scaping last year, and then we heard about table-scaping, didn't we? At the Clean and Tidy Home show last year, and we were like, how do we not know about these things? So basically it's about making your table look lovely for a celebration, making your fridge look lovely. Jury's out on acrylic fridge containers. Now I'm interested to see what you think, because I know it was in your little video that you got one, but you only got one, right?
Yes.
And that's interesting because I have gone down the fridge scaping route. Well, I haven't. I've just gone into buying acrylic containers for my fridge to hopefully make it look a bit better. And I've gone back to one. I had two, and I thought it was more cumbersome to have it than it was to not have it.
Yeah.
And now I've gone to one. So what do you think? What do you think?
You know what? That sounds a bit crazy. I like it, but you do give yourself a little bit of extra work because, of course, when you buy grapes or strawberries or something or fruit in a plastic container, you could just put it in the fridge. When it's empty, you recycle the plastic container and you throw it away. But when you fridgescape, you take everything out of a plastic container to put it in an acrylic container. But then the acrylic container does get dirty. So that needs to be washed again in the dishwasher. So it does look very nice, but I haven't gone all out and now I'm like acrylic containering everything because I do think it's quite a lot of work. So I would maybe, if you're thinking about this, maybe just start with 1 or 2 containers and kind of see if you like it before you splash all out on loads of these things.
I mean, that's definitely what I did because I'm with you. I thought it has to be. It's nice to make things look nice for sure, and it makes you, it makes you feel good and all that kind of stuff, and it looks lovely and it's a sight to behold if you're that way inclined. But I had 2, and I was like, I think I actually only need it for my fruit because I keep my fruit in the fridge, and I think I was trying to put other things in there that were just, why am I putting those in there? Because they don't need to be in there. They just need to be in the fridge. And so I've gone back to having one. I do have a Lazy Susan in there. So an acrylic Lazy Susan, which is one of the circular things that spins around for my bottles as well, which is super handy. And I've got one normal container, like oblong container that I use for my fruit. So I've got 2 things actually in there. But I did have the Lazy Susan and the two, but it just was overkill, I thought.
Yeah. Nothing but realism here, isn't it, Leslie?
Yeah, definitely. It's got to be, we can't go for form over function ever, can we? In my opinion. Well, maybe in some things, not in a fridge or in a cupboard. Yeah, we've got to make things functional. Things have got to work and make things easy for yourself. Unless making things look beautiful is more of a driver for you than you've got, it's compromise, isn't it? You've got to decide, what do you want? Do you want it to look really nice and have a little bit more work if you're that way inclined, or do you want it to be easy to use and you're going to forfeit the look a little bit? We've survived without acrylic containers for the last 100 years that we've had fridges. How long have fridges been around?
Maybe, I don't know, the 1940s.
Well, when did electricity?
I think that's longer, Leslie. Goes away Googling, when did electricity start? We're now going to get loads of people leave comments on our podcast like, what are you two like? You're not ancient. You did not live at the start of the last.
The only thing we know about is decluttering. Anything to do with general knowledge or maths, we completely had it. Do you know what I mean? And every now and again, something blurts out of my mouth, and I'm like, why did I say that? Because there's a whole load of things that.
Yeah, but I do know lots of stuff. But you like all of these random things, like when did electricity start?
But when did electricity? Give it your best guess. I wouldn't have. I'm thinking.
I would say that's industrial revolution, isn't it? That's
yeah.
1900s or something. Seriously, I mean, this is what we get, listeners. Now I'm gonna have to go write this down, go off. But I'm sure somebody is gonna laugh really hard at this and go, Ingrid and Leslie, what do you like? This is when electricity started, and this is where the first fridges. But if I had to do,
probably was fridges before electricity, like a different version of a fridge, like a cold
with
store.
Ice blocks.
I bet they didn't have fridge scaping.
Oh my gosh, we are kind of completely going off. This is why we never get anything done, seriously. So we're still on number 6, and we're. Oh my word. Okay,
I'm going to stop. So if you want to enlighten us about general knowledge, please do so, because it would be super helpful for us, so we don't completely, I don't know. Right, okay, number 7, Ingrid.
Oh my god. All right. Okay, calm down, calm down. Number 7, broom holders. Now, this is very handy. And you've recently used them as well, haven't you, in a client's house?
Oh, Ingrid, right. When you said this is really handy, this is like the best thing ever. This is not just really handy. Have you got one?
Have I got one?
No, do you know what? It's probably not a great thing for you because you haven't got like a utility room where you could put something on the wall. You would have to kind of have it in your kitchen on a wall, and then it would be on display. And you've got cupboards wall to wall in your kitchen. So that's probably why you haven't gone down the amazing route of a broom holder. So what I mean by that is you can kind of get these things that if you haven't got one, you definitely need to. There's one in the shop again. Go and check it out to see because it's quite difficult visually to explain. But basically, you put something on the wall, suction holds the handle of a broom, of a mop. You can kind of put. I even put my Hoover. What do you call it, hose thing in there to hold the hoover so that doesn't fall over, stuff like that. And basically it keeps everything off the floor so your mops can dry out. It makes it look nice and neat, and it stops it all from falling over. Absolutely brilliant. And it's like, I don't know, 10 or 15 pounds, maybe something like that for this amazing thing. When I put them into clients' houses, which I very, very, very often do if I'm doing utility rooms, they're like, it's the best thing ever. And I would agree. And you need one. I need to find a space in your house where you can put one.
I know. Maybe I need to put one in my garage for like my outdoor brooms and stuff.
Yeah, but in your garage, you probably do something different there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you'd have the ones that I'm talking about are a little bit more domestic, a little bit more dainty. Garage brooms probably need a different solution, I would say.
Yeah.
But can you not put one in behind your, like little utility cupboard where you have things? Have you not got? Where do you put your brushes and stuff?
Yeah, I've got a utility cupboard, but I think because it's only the outside wall that's, I think, strong enough to hold it, because the rest are the walls are, I think, too thick. I'm gonna investigate, Leslie. This can be maybe put on the list. A very good addition to this house. So
if you buy it from our shop, we can get some commission. You can't get commission on your own shop. No. And by the way, that we have to come clean. Our Amazon shop does have a really, 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 really minuscule amount of commission that comes to us. That's not why we're doing this podcast, but we do have the shop, which will give us a little bit of commission if you buy from there. And so we have to come clean and say that because we're showing you all these products and we have to say that we will get, but it's literally like half a p. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're not making our millions from our Amazon shop, that's for sure. But it would be really nice if you did go and buy something from there. Anyway,
we've got another good one on number 8. We found a garage sports bin that you were like, I love this. I mean, yeah.
I just wish I was sporty. I really like it. I really like it. This is something, right? See if you can describe it, Ingrid, because you're going to have to describe it, so that people can visualize it.
It's like a rack with bins on it, and that you can put things like sports equipment in. So like tennis balls and tennis rackets and cricket bats and baseball bats and that kind of thing, like all the kind of things you need to play a sport. So it's all in one place, and it can go into a garage or a shed or utility room. So nothing is like loose on the floor where people can trip over it. And I think we saw it somewhere else and we thought, wow, that's an amazing thing. We should definitely put that in our Amazon shop because it looks great, it looks functional. And yeah, we kind of both really liked it, didn't we?
Yeah, because I think when I'm working with clients, typically what I'll do is I'll try and find an old dustbin or something like that to make sure everything's containerized. This is all about containerization. And this garage sports bin containerizes in a really nice, nifty way because it subdivides. So whereas I just put things into a dustbin or something and they would fall down a little bit and not be really subdivided and not be that easy to get things out of because you'd have to kind of rummage through a little bit. This one was really nifty in terms of the way that it subdivided the bats and the rackets. It had little sections for balls and footballs and stuff like that. I'm not quite sure how much you'd fit in there. You know, if you've got little kids and you've got 10 footballs, they're not all going to fit in this garage sports bin organizer, but a few rackets. I thought it was a really nice solution, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it looks good. It looked good as well, which I think is nice. It needs to be practical, but it also looked good. And I think that's what attracted us to it, I think. Right, number 9, a battery organizer. can be so helpful, but don't make the mistake of getting a tiny container, because that's what we see. We see all these lovely tiny battery containers, and as soon as you got more than like 6 batteries, the tiny battery container is completely useless. So we've gone for a bit of a larger battery container. And of course, batteries are not good for the environment and all these things, but yeah, there are loads of stuff that run on batteries. There's nothing we can do about it. So we have batteries in our lives, hopefully rechargeable, but that's not always possible. So you need to store the ones so you know which are in good condition to use, and you need something that can hold all the different battery sizes, because you got AAA and AA and huge batteries and smaller and ones that are rectangular. It's all a bit like, where do I put this stuff? And then we found one which also has a battery checker in it. Now that's handy.
Ingrid lives, eats and breathes battery organizers. If there was one organizing product that she just loves, for me it's the broom holder, for Ingrid it's the battery organizer. Am I right?
Yes, yeah. But because I find
it makes you so happy. I can just imagine you there of an evening just randomly going through your battery organizer and checking how much charge is left on each battery with your battery checker.
Yeah, but you know what, Leslie, for years.
I bet you've done that, right?
Of course I have. Because for years and years and years in my clients' houses, I find batteries in 12 different places. Nobody knows if they're still good or if they're empty or if, all these random things. And when you can just contain it in one place, then you know where they are, you know whether they're useful, if they're working. If they're not working, you can put them in a separate pot to put them in a recycling spot, which are loads around the country here. You can put them in shops and in libraries. They have battery kind of points where you can put the old batteries in. It's so much better than throwing it away, so that you create a little system for yourself. And I think that's what I like about it.
You love it, don't you?
I do.
Absolutely loves it. She talks about it all the time. I can't even tell you how often she talks about battery organizers. But anyway, it's time for number 10, Ingrid. And we are going to go back to basics with a trug.
Yes. Now, you love a trug. You do.
I don't know whether I've got any anymore. I loved them beyond loved them when I had children. Well, I do still actually have children, but like when they were little and when I had toys, that was when my children had toys, and shoes.
Yeah.
And balls. I would use them for balls, outside toys. So what we mean is those kind of wide, colourful, round, normally, containers that are flexible. It's better if you get flexible sides that you can lift and carry from one room to another, that you can chuck stuff into, that it's not too big that you lose everything, but that's big enough that you don't have to micro-organize. You can colour code with them. They're not massively expensive. How many ways should I talk about a trug, Ingrid?
I know. I had them too, Leslie. When the kids were little and the toys were much bulkier, I definitely had 2 or 3 of them. I think in my living room at the time. I can't remember now. And then at some point, they got repurposed for something else. And then they got repurposed again for in the garage. And my husband uses them in the garden, for when we're weeding, or, you can even put water in them to wash the car. That's super handy.
Yeah,
Super
definitely.
handy.
I've worked out where ours are now. While you were thinking, I'm like, where have they gone? Because I don't remember getting rid of them. We use them for an ice bucket when we have parties. When we're outside, all the beer goes in them. All the beer goes in them and the wine and stuff outside if we have an outside party. Perfect, right?
That's the thing. You can use them in so many different ways. They last forever. They're good quality. The ones I bought were super good quality. You can really carry stuff around. You can use them for laundry, to carry laundry around. Like if you have to get laundry from inside, possibly outside, or hang it up or something, you can multi-purpose a truck. Yeah, I agree. Good call.
Good. So I don't know about you, Ingrid, but I hope this has been a little bit helpful in terms of the way our minds work with organizing products. We've talked about form over function a little bit, to make sure, no, the other way around, make favoring function over form. And we've talked about not micro-organizing, working out whether a system is going to work for you, not going all in until you've tried something out. We're real big advocates of using what you have. Sometimes there are times when things look a little bit prettier by going out and finding a solution, but you will know when the time is right. But the most important thing on a decluttering journey is that all this stuff that we're talking about is that right at the end of your decluttering journey and not before you even get started. Don't get sucked in by these organizing products that promise that they're going to change your lives, because they're probably not. And once you've got a handle on your stuff, where it's going to live, how much of it you've got, that's when you make the decision about what kind of organizing solutions are going to work for you. I think that what I'd love, Ingrid, is we only buy things that we think are super helpful. We've got people in this, listening to this podcast, that are from all over the world. There will definitely be organizing things that we've never seen, that we have no idea about, that we would love to hear about in terms of the way that they work. And so if you've got an organizing solution that's worked for you, that you want to share with the Facebook community, share with Ingrid and I, we'll look into it and test it out if we can. And we will absolutely be adding, we'd love to add more things to our Amazon shop so other people can get the benefit of your knowledge about what organizing products generally work.
Yeah.
So do let us know. We'd love, just pop over a link, an Amazon link or whatever, or a picture or something like that, so to give us an idea, because we're very reliant on you guys telling us the kind of things that are working in your homes. We know what works in our homes. We know what works in our clients' homes, but we don't know what works. There's so many different scenarios, different, climates, different, we're constantly amazed, aren't we? And we buy things that we have not thought about. And we're like, oh yeah. Do you know what I mean? The things that are standard in our country that we don't think about in other countries. So yeah, we're reliant on you and we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, excellent idea. So thank you so much. I hope you're still with us. I know we got a bit giddy there, but that kind of always happens with the 10 Things podcast, doesn't it, Leslie? We kind of go off on these massive kind of tangents when we talk about things, but we hope this has been helpful, and we can't wait for you to listen or maybe watch on our YouTube channel again next week. So thanks for being here. We appreciate you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Declutter Hub podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us in your podcast player so you don't miss an episode, and we'll see you next week.